Hello and welcome to the Film Whisperers, where two movie nerds talk all things film with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matthew.
So, Matthew, we've been discussing the topic of book to film transitions, and what has worked and what hasn't worked, and we've had some good discussions on why some of these things don't work. But I guess this is going to be an interesting one to, explore, which is the WTF of book to film transitions. So, Matt, do you mind telling our viewers what do we expect to talk about with WTF?
Yeah, of course. I think in this case, it probably would mean, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it would be like book to TV or movie adaptations that just surprised us. So, like, we were talking earlier about how when you read a book, you have such an idea of what it's going to look like and how it's going to be. And oftentimes, we know this happens time and time again where directors or writers for film and TV just take it in a completely different direction, or they just do it in a way that you weren't expecting, or in a weird way, or something like that. And so I think that, yeah, we might just talk about some of those examples, like ones where we watched it expecting something and it turned out to be something different, or am I on the right track?
Yes, definitely.
Do you have an example? Like, do you have like a WTF movie, or sorry, TV or film adaptation from a book?
Yes, actually, I do. There's a book that I read that I really struggled with. I thought it was pretty badly written. It's going to sound controversial when I say it because I know Matthew, you like this book. It was Normal People by Sally Rooney.
Oh my God, I really liked it.
I really despised the book. I just thought all those characters were incredibly annoying, and every page I read, I just kept trying to think of why was this book so popular? I don't understand it. And then the TV show came out, and I thought it was one of the best TV shows of 2020.
Wow.
And it was weird because they didn't change the storylines. The characters were quite spot on, and I don't know, there was something about seeing a visual adaptation of that book that made me just go, hmm. I loved every episode of the TV show. I thought it was beautifully acted. It definitely made the two main stars famous after that. And I believe they did end up getting a few award nominations. And I know the actress in it has now been cast in a Reese Witherspoon production of Where the Crawdads Sing. So I think that TV show brought really good things for the cast. But yeah, as a book, I just did not like it. So that's my WTF because um, in a weird way, the adaptation, the TV show adaptation, was far superior than the book.
That is so interesting, Saj. That's so rare, like where the opposite is true, where it's like oftentimes people will be like, oh, the book was so much better than the movie or the TV show. But it's rare that it's the other way around. And I wonder if it's kind of like what you were touching on, which was like getting that visual representation. It just gave off something different. Like I loved the book, but I completely get that like the characters were written in a way that made them quite annoying because like they were just very pretentious and like whatever. Well, some of them were, but maybe watching it on screen made it a bit different or kind of gave a different dynamic. I don't know. That's such an interesting one. The author of Normal People, her other book, which I think came out before that, Conversations with Friends, is also getting adapted. So I'll be interested to see how that one plays out. And she actually has a new book, her third one coming out next month or something, or September or something like that. So she's just blown up like in the last few years.
Yeah.
Like she's massive.
After I read Normal People, I refused to read any of her other books. So I'm just going to say that. But Matt, I think it's your turn. You need to tell us what was your WTF.
Anyone who's read this book will understand where I'm coming from when I choose the example of I'm thinking of ending things. It went to Netflix if anyone saw it, but it was originally a book. And when I read the book, I loved it. I thought it was so, so good. It's a very taut book. Like it's not very long. And it's just like this kind of mystery that essentially is about a couple going on a road trip to visit the guy's parents. And throughout this trip, the woman in the car is just kind of thinking in her head that she wants to end the relationship. And throughout the kind of book, it goes over like it just explores their relationship, how they met, all this kind of stuff. But you can tell that there's something under the surface which is a bit off. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it because that hasn't read it, because you absolutely should read it. But there is a twist towards the end. And when I read the book, the twist was just jaw dropping. I was like, oh my God, this was like so well written, because it kind of had hooked me in so much. And then it just twisted it completely. And it was just, yeah, it was brilliant. And so when they did this adaptation, I think the director was Charlie Kaufman, who's like very quite acclaimed. I was really, really excited for it. And so I sat down and I watched it. And up until the moment where the twist happens in the film, I loved it. Like, I thought it was really, really beautifully shot. The performances were great. Like, Toni Collette has a role in it. She's great in it. And they did a really good job of representing like this kind of strange book, which is mostly about like the inner thoughts of a character. They did it really well on film, but the director completely changed the ending. Like, the twist was still there, but the way that the director represented it was completely different to how it was represented in the book. And so, like, I still really liked the movie, but it was just a bit like a WTF kind of example for me, because I was like, I just was waiting as I was watching the movie for this kind of big thing to happen towards the end. And then it just happened in a really weird way. And it was just, I think anyone who has read the book / watched the movie will know what I'm talking about, because the kind of final act of the film just goes in this really weird direction. And so, sorry, I'm blabbing on about it, but that would definitely be a big WTF one for me. Have you read the book or seen the movie, Saj?
I tried to watch the movie, Matt, and it was just so weird. And obviously, weird is subjective. It was weird to me, and I had no idea what was going on, and I was probably not in the right headspace, and I decided to go, no, thank you. But I don't know if I'd read the book, if my experience would be different.
I watched the movie with my partner who hadn't read the book, and I think he was enjoying it similar to me up until a point, because it was very like mysterious, like you're not sure where it's heading or what's happening. But I think because I'd read the book, I had this like really deep appreciation, because I kind of knew where it was all leading towards. So when in the movie, when you're kind of wondering like what's going on, like, because yeah, it's kind of very like what's happening, like what is this all headed towards? Because I kind of knew, it just made it. I was really excited. Like, I knew what they were trying to do with like the way it was shot, like
Yeah.
the way they did weird things in the movie. But so I think if you haven't read the book, I think the whole movie is probably a WTF movie. But if you have read the book, I think that final act is just very WTF, because the director, who's an auteur, like, he likes to kind of put his own brand on a movie. He just kind of does this weird thing with it, which is totally different from the book. And so I was just, I still really enjoyed it because it was different, but like it was very much a WTF example. That is all the time we have for today, sadly. So thank you so much, Saj, for chatting with me. I mean, it's always a pleasure. It's good to have you back as well. But it's been great talking all things adaptations for movies and TVs. And I learned something new today, which is that Legally Blonde was based on a book. I had no idea. So if you liked any of our recommendations, feel free to check them out. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. This is the Film Whisperers, and you're watching Bent TV.